Can my AI life coach help coach me, a life coach, to be a better parent? Let's put it to the test. So I recently learned how to program my own chatbot coach on ChatGPT by training it in my professional core competencies as well as my own personal style as a coach. And I've been extremely curious to try it out. So this is just the beta version of it, and I want to see how well it performs for me right now. And once I've finished filming this episode, I will program all of my feedback into it to help it improve its skills. This week, I'm testing it out in 4 different areas of my life. So check out all of the episodes I post this week if you're curious how well it coaches me in my creativity, my marriage, my parenthood, and my business. And if you'd like to try the bot out for yourself, I'll include the link to it for free in the description box. Now, let me dump my thoughts into the chat and see what happens. Thank you. This was helpful. Now, I'd like a new coaching conversation about parenthood. I have a daughter who just turned 3, who is in her full-blown three-nager-hood. I also have a 6-month-old daughter who just started sleeping through the night and is starting to crawl. I started back at work part-time the last couple of months, and I feel like ever since I've come back to work, it's taken more out of my tank than I have to give. So then, when I'm around my kids, I feel very depleted. My capacity is low, and when my kids are dysregulated, it drains my tank quickly. What are some ways I can increase my capacity to meet my kids' needs? I don't just want to talk about slowing down and taking care of myself. I'm looking for how can I stay connected to my kids when my patience is at 0 and I'm too tired to, quote, conscious parent them. What you're describing is an incredibly common collision of 2 developmental storms happening at once. Okay, just initial take, it's doing that thing again where it's explaining a lot to me rather than just jumping into a coaching conversation. So there we go again. Again, just the nature of me not training it sufficiently, which I will do. A 3-year-old nervous system learning autonomy with big feelings and low regulation. A 6-month-old entering mobility, constant vigilance and stimulation, and a parent re-entering workforce while still postpartum. So the question you're asking is a powerful one. How do I stay connected to my kids while my capacity is basically 0? Let's approach this like a coaching conversation rather than a lecture. Please. First, I want to anchor something important. Connection with kids does not require emotional perfection. In fact, most secure attachment is built through repair, not flawless regulation. Yes. But instead of unpacking a bunch of theory, let's start with a question that helps us target the right strategies. Thank you. Think about the moments when your patience drops to 0. What tends to be happening right before that point? Is it more often A, noise/chaos overload, B, defiance from your 3-year-old, C, both kids needing you at the same time, D, transitions like bedtime, leaving the house, and meals, or E, something else entirely? Which situation drains you the fastest? So again, I feel like it's interesting that it gives me multiple choice in this way. Like I said in previous coaching sessions this week, this feels prescriptive and it's giving me a certain set of options of what could be going through my head or could be what's going on, but it's not just letting me answer with an open-ended question. So that might be helpful for someone who doesn't have a ton of self-awareness yet to identify with one or more of those options. But for me, I don't know, it's a little off-putting, but I'll go with what they said. So I think the thing that drains me the fastest is B, defiance from my 3-year-old. That makes a lot of sense. Defiance from a 3-year-old is one of the most neurologically triggering parenting experiences, especially when you're depleted. It hits several pressure points at once. It slows everything down when you're already tired. It feels like a power struggle that you have to win. It often comes with whining, yelling, or ignoring, and you're simultaneously caring for a baby. So let's focus specifically on how to stay connected when defiance is happening and your patience is gone. But before I offer strategies, I want to ask one coaching question that will reveal a lot. When your daughter is being defiant, what meaning does your mind tend to assign to it in that moment? For example, parents often think things like, she's not listening to me, she's being disrespectful, she's pushing my limits, she's trying to control things, she knows better than this. What is the automatic interpretation your brain tends to make in these moments? Okay, so again, lots of talking, lots of explaining, In some ways, it's obviously very validating, but as a general rule in life coaching, if you're talking more than the client is, then you're doing it wrong. You really want to be selective with when you offer reflections for the most crucial awareness building moments. And most of the time, ask really powerful, open-ended questions for the client to do a lot of the lifting and the work so that it goes deeper than the coach might know how to go. So that it goes deeper because then the client is leading inwardly. It's a decent question about this automatic interpretation because it's directing me again towards unconscious thoughts to bringing them into my conscious mind. So, not bad. I would say some combination of she's not listening to me or she's trying to control things. That's a really important insight. The moment your brain interprets her behavior as she's not listening or she's trying to control things, the interaction instantly becomes a power struggle in your nervous system. And power struggles are incredibly draining, especially when you're already depleted. What's happening neurologically is this. Your daughter is in a developmental stage where she's experimenting with agency and autonomy, but your brain hears it as opposition. When opposition is detected, your nervous system shifts into control mode, which burns a ton of energy. So one of the most powerful ways to increase your capacity isn't actually more patience. It's removing the power struggle frame so your nervous system doesn't go into battle. Let's explore this practically. Here's the coaching question that would open up the next layer. When your daughter is defiant, what outcome are you usually trying to achieve in that moment? For example, immediate compliance, respectful tone, moving their routine along, cooperation, or something else. I appreciate this question, but I don't really feel like limiting to one outcome of this multiple choice is what I want. So I'm going to answer with multiple. So I'm going to say cooperation, respectful tone, or moving the routine along all come into play. That's helpful. Those three goals, cooperation, respectful tone, and moving the routine along, are all very reasonable, but here's the tension that quietly drains your capacity. With a 3-year-old, those three goals often cannot happen simultaneously. Fair point. At this age, their brain is still developing the parts responsible for impulse control, emotional regulation, flexible thinking, respectful tone when upset. So when we try to get all three outcomes, we unknowingly enter negotiation that costs enormous energy. A big capacity shift comes from deciding which goals matter the most in the moment. Think of it like parenting with 3 gears instead of 1. Interesting. So it's offering me a framework right now. Let's explore. Gear 1, move the routine along, which is for a low emotional energy state. When you're exhausted, the goal is simply forward motion. This might look like, I hear you don't want to put shoes on. I'm going to help your body do it. Calmly picking her up and doing the thing, and minimal discussion. You're not teaching tone or cooperation here. You are just keeping the train moving. Connection is maintained through calmness, not negotiation. Cool. Gear 2, practice cooperation when you have a little more capacity. This is where you invite participation. Do you want to hop to the bathroom or tiptoe? Should the red toothbrush go first or the blue one? You're making the routine a shared activity instead of a command. And 3, teach respectful tone in teaching moments, not meltdown moments. This happens later when everyone is regulated. For example, earlier when you were mad about shoes, your voice got very loud. When we're frustrated, we can say, I don't like that. Let's practice. Teaching tone during defiance almost always backfires because their brain is flooded. The capacity secret. When you're depleted, you're allowed to default to gear 1 most of the time. That's not failing conscious parenting. That's energy intelligent parenting. You're preserving your nervous system so that you can still be warm and connected later. And the connection piece is actually much simpler than people think. In chaotic seasons with little kids, connection is mostly built through physical closeness, warm tone, quick repairs after hard moments, not through perfect responses in every interaction. I'm curious about something that will help refine this further for you. When your daughter is being defiant, what response from you tends to escalate things the fastest? For example, repeating yourself, explaining why she needs to do something, raising your voice, trying to reason with her, something else. Which one tends to pour gasoline on the fire? Okay, I have several thoughts about this. So again, I feel like I'm a broken record with this, but it's a double-edged sword because the response was a ton of talking at me. It was not a coaching conversation. Life coaching is a very different process than consulting, for example, where the coach is responsible for asking powerful questions and the client is responsible for exploring themselves more deeply and discovering their own inner answers. This kind of talking at and telling is not life coaching. It's just facilitative consulting, essentially. On the other side, though, I really do like this framework and the tool that it's offering me. It's personally very relevant and resonant because I do find myself parenting on gears 2 and 3 when my capacity is at 0. And so I'm trying to invite her cooperation, or I'm trying to, help her regulate and then have a teaching moment when I am completely drained, which is just like, it doesn't work well for me. It really runs me dry. So the idea of just moving the routine along calmly and reiterating what she's feeling or reflecting what she's doing, like, I hear you, I'm going to help your body do this, minimal discussion, just staying calm and not snapping or anything, I think is the most helpful tool that I got out of that reflection. So let's answer this question and we'll probably wrap up pretty soon. I don't raise my voice so much as my tone shifts and there's a sharpness to my tone. I speak more quickly and pointedly and a little louder, but not shouting. That awareness is a huge parenting skill. Many parents never notice the micro shift in tone that happens right before things escalate. What you're describing is the moment your nervous system goes from guiding to pushing. It sounds like this internally. Let's move this along. Okay, seriously, we need to go. Why is this so hard? Just do the thing. And your tone starts carrying urgency, which a 3-year-old nervous system reads as threat or pressure, not leadership. When they feel that pressure, they often dig in harder, which drains you even more. So the capacity question becomes, how do you keep connection while you're at 0 patience? Which is the question that I asked at the very beginning. Their answer is, not by being calmer, not by being more patient, but by lowering the amount of emotional work you're doing in the moment. Here are 3 tools that work well specifically when your tank is empty. Okay, so they're giving me more tools after already giving me a framework with the gears. I won't read all of this to you in the moment. You can go to the YouTube video and I will share the screenshot recording of it all. But the key points are use fewer words, leadership. Number 2 is externalize the routine. It's not a you versus her. Number 3 is repair quickly instead of trying to be perfect. And then one more thing that might shift your capacity dramatically is the goal in this season is not perfect conscious parenting. It's efficient leadership with warm repair. Before we wrap this conversation, I want to ask one more coaching question that often reveals a huge lever for parents in your exact stage. When during the day do you feel the most connected and patient with your 3-year-old right now? Not when things are easiest logistically, but when you actually enjoy her the most. I feel kind of done with this conversation, but I do have a question for it, so I'm going to ask it. I have a question. What about when I calmly move forward with the routine and she screams and hits and flails and wants to do it herself? That's a great and very real question. Every parent of a 3-year-old eventually hits this exact moment. You move things along calmly and suddenly you have a tiny protester flailing and screaming because she wanted autonomy. Nothing about that means you did something wrong. What you're seeing is a collision between 2 legitimate needs, your need to move the routine forward and her developmental need for agency. At 3, agency is extremely strong, but skills are still weak, so the frustration comes out as hitting, screaming, flailing. The key isn't preventing the meltdown. Often that's impossible. The key is holding the boundary while still preserving her sense of agency. Here's what that can look like in practice. 1, acknowledge the autonomy immediately. When kids say, I want to do it myself, the nervous system is really saying, my control has disappeared. A quick acknowledgement often softens the escalation. Example, you wanted to do it yourself. Not a lecture, just naming it. This communicates, I see you, even though the routine continues. 2, give autonomy inside the boundary. The boundary stays the same, but you return a piece of control. Example, we need shoes on. Do you want to push your foot in or should I help? You can climb into the seat or I can lift you. You can pull the zipper or I will. This shifts the dynamic from parent versus child to shared problem solving. 3, if she's flailing or hitting, move into calm containment. When a child is hitting, their brain is fully dysregulated. At that point, the goal changes from cooperation to safety. You might calmly hold her arms and body and say, I won't let you hit. Then continue the routine as best you can. Containment is not punishment, it's regulation support. Number 4, let the feelings happen without fixing them. This part is hard but powerful. A child can scream and still move through the routine. Example tone. You're really mad you didn't get to do it yourself. You keep moving. Parents often feel pressure to stop the crying, but that actually costs a ton of emotional energy. Sometimes the lowest energy path is simply allowing the protest. Number 5, repair the autonomy later. After the storm passes, you can circle back. Example, next time you want to do it yourself, you can say, I do it. This builds the skill she didn't have in the moment. A mindset shift that may help your capacity. When a 3-year-old yells, I do it myself, it's actually a healthy developmental signal. It means her independence is growing, her sense of competence is emerging, and her brain is practicing autonomy. Unfortunately, it comes packaged with terrible emotional regulation. Your job isn't to eliminate the explosion, it's to hold the boundary while allowing the emotion. That requires far less energy than trying to prevent the meltdown entirely. When she is in that flailing, screaming, I do it myself moment, what usually happens inside you? Is it more like A, another multiple choice, I feel overwhelmed and want it to stop immediately. I feel irritated or angry. I feel rushed because we need to get somewhere. I feel embarrassed if others are around, or something else. Your internal reaction is often the biggest lever for capacity, so I'd love to understand that part. For me, it is B, I feel irritated or angry. That's really helpful to know. When irritation or anger is the main okay, this is so much information. Okay, people, I'm going to, again, let you read this on the video screen. So please pause it and read through it yourself. I feel like I've gotten everything that I need out of this conversation. I liked the gears framework, but maybe I'll ask it to repeat those gears for me, because I liked that. So I'm ready to wrap up. Can you review the 3 gears again? That was most helpful for me. Absolutely. It makes sense. 3 gears resonated. They're powerful because they reduce the pressure to every parent, every moment, the same way when your energy is limited. Okay, my brain is tired of reading. All right, and then I've got the 3 gears reiterated for me. Looks like they've kind of floofed them up just a little bit with goals added to them and little insights added at the end. I appreciate these. Let's see. If you'd like, we can explore one more thing that helps parents in your exact stage dramatically increase capacity. The 3 daily connection deposits that prevent many defiance battles before they start. Okay. Yes, I'd like to hear about those. All right. The morning you matter moment, the fill her cup play burst, the bedtime repair and reflection. Kids process their daily emotions right before sleep, so this helps settle their nervous system and reinforces connection after snuggles. Or after struggles. Okay. I mean, again, not coaching, more consulting, but it did help me solve the problem that I brought to it of, if my capacity is out, how do I stay connected to my daughter? I love the gears framework that it gave me. I like these connection deposits that it offered to me kind of freely at the end. But I will say, like, no, I've got what I need. Thanks. I'm done with this coaching conversation. So now I'd love to pass it to you. What did you think of this AI coaching? Again, I don't call this coaching. This is a lot of talking at me, giving me frameworks. That is what consulting is. Did it help you in any way? Would you use something like this if you were feeling at capacity, or if you're hitting kind of a roadblock in your parenting? I'm curious if you would want to use something like this. And if so, as I said, go to the link in the description that gives you access to this bot for free. And I'd love to hear from you about how it goes. And with that, we've come to the end of today's episode of the Contentment Creator Podcast, where we put AI to the test to see if a chatbot can coach a life coach. Whether you caught the whole episode or one of our segments, either way, thank you so much for making it all the way to the end, and I hope that you are subscribed so you don't miss another episode. Join me in my mission to turn a world full of content creators into a world of contentment creators. Bye, y'all.